So due to the dev server and everything, I took a little bit more time to do the normal video that I did each month, right? Talking about some stuff that were passed to the developers for consideration. So good enough data was on the suggestions that the devs are considering it, okay? So 3 vehicles that, technically 2 vehicles and 1 addition, basically, for a mechanic or whatever you want to call it, quality of life thing. That were passed to the developers for consideration and need to be added right now because they are so cool. There is a bonus one at the end of the video, but I'm just gonna pass over that. The 3 main ones are going to be these, okay? So let's start off with the first aircraft. So the Dassault Mirage IV, yes. The Dassault Mirage IV is an aircraft that is being asked for a very long time in the French tech tree. You know, if you don't know what it is pretty much the idea that the French wanted to in the 50s, but more 60s, right? To have a bomber that could deploy nuclear bombs very fast and in a very, very long range. So the idea was around 2,000 kilometers, right? You can even do more than that, of course, these aircraft, but that was the main idea. So the aircraft itself is just a bomber, but it is such an iconic Cold War aircraft that I think is needed. It's pretty much just a bomber version of a Mirage III, looks like. You know, if you really look into it even looks kind of like the Mirage 4000. So it's a very cool aircraft. It's very different because it is like an enlarged Mirage 3 or Mirage 4000 or whatever you want to take a look on this. Uses 2 9K50 engines, SNECMA, of course, which are basically the engines of the Mirage F1. So very good engines. It can actually do Mach 2.2 of max speed, so it's very fast. And yeah, it's very, very fast accelerating, very fast climbing, very high altitude ceiling, right? So the aircraft itself is pretty interesting. It has a pilot and a navigator. It was used as a nuclear bomber and also as a reconnaissance aircraft, but could also use normal free-fall conventional bombs. So it can actually use normal 1,000-pound bombs, which would be probably the main thing over here. It would be a very fast bomber that can deliver bombs. This is how far we can go with this. You know, I would love to see this thing with an objective or a pod or anything to actually use strategic defense in a mission or something, simulator or whatever. Maybe as even a nuclear bomber, you know, maybe for France, it could be the nuclear bomber for ground battles. But at the end of the day, in normal battles, it would be just a very fast bomber. I know, it doesn't feel like a very big thing, you know, a very good thing. But it would be cool enough that it is a delta wing design, that it's large, enlarged, like really large aircraft, together with being, you know, a normal bomber. So it's interesting. It's very interesting, and I think it should be added. To be honest, this time there weren't that many like, oh my god, things that they passed it to the developers. You know, it was more little things here and there that the community are asking for a very long time. So the Mirage IV is indeed one that I think it's cool enough to see in the game. The other vehicle that I think should be added, unfortunately for the Russians, I don't think they need this vehicle, but it would still be cool to have it. So the BTR-82AT, I mean, not everything needs to be added because it fills a gap, right? But yeah, the BTR-82AT is pretty much just an evolution, a very late evolution if you think about it, of the BTR-80A that we have in the game, right? So the idea here, of course, it is using the BTR-82 version, which is the latest production model of basically the BTR-80, right? So it has a better armor overall, not by much, but it has better armor. Modern night vision systems, it has a GLONASS navigation system, more powerful engine, and some other minor upgrades here and there. But in a general sense, it's very just a modernization of the BTR-80A. This AT model in particular would feature a 3rd generation thermal imaging system, and also slat armor, of course, but the main thing, the Cornet ATGM. So it would be a BTR-82 or a BTR-80, if you will, that could carry ATGMs. So that is cool enough for me. I think it would be a very cool vehicle, very fast attacking, you know. If you really take a look onto the BRs of these vehicles, they have a very low BR. So, I mean, the 80A is 7.3, right? So, of course, with the Cornet and the improved stuff, thermal imaging and everything, it would be, of course, a very high BR. I don't know exactly, maybe 9.0, something like that, 8.7 maybe 8.3, we don't know. I think 8.7 would be good because it would be kind of similar to the BMP2. So, yeah, I think it would be a cool vehicle. Very fast, of course, but not tracked. So, a different flavor to an APC that can carry ATGMs, right? So, a very cool vehicle. Hopefully, it gets added. It was passed to the developers. And the last thing, kind of just a normal addition over here, would be the option to limit the maximum FPS. It's something that I don't know how difficult this thing is to be added to the game. You programmers out there can let me know, but you software engineers, right? But at the end of the day, it doesn't feel like a very big thing. But yeah, we do have VSync, of course, but of course that is, you know, I mean, it is good, but it's a little bit bugged sometimes. You know how it is, right? So in a general sense, always worked for me, but sometimes it bugs it out a little bit. So hopefully something like this would make it be a little bit better, especially if you don't want to have, you know, like something in between or whatever. For example, maybe you have a 120, you know, hertz monitor, right? But you want to play the game at 90 FPS because maybe your graphic card doesn't allow you to go to 120, right? So it would help to have these kind of limitations out there that you can just customize to whatever FPS you want, right? So it would be a cool little quality of life thing that I think needs to be added. I don't know how hard this thing is to be added, but anyway, it would be cool. And the kind of bonus one would be the Havilland Vampire with the T55 model in mind for Japan, you know. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they only had one of these for testing purposes and everything, but it would be a cool vehicle to have because it is a Vampire, a low-tier jet that Japan desperately need options on, right? So, especially with the R2s being removed. So, I think this would be a very cool thing. Of course, it would be a trainer version, so be playset and everything. But apparently, he had the 4 Spano cannons, right? So, he would be very, very, you know, cool. Of course, there is apparently one thing that if the aircraft flies with 2 pilots, so a little bit heavier, it would be normally reduced to 2 Hispanos or something like that. So, kind of funny. They can have a little bit of a difference there. Maybe always using just 2 Spanos or something like that to be added. Of course, you can carry some bombs and rockets and everything, but in a general sense, it's just a heavier Vampire that won't be too good. But with the correct BR, it can be a very good low-tier jet for Japan, which, like I said, it is a country that desperately need options on. So, kind of a bonus one, nothing too crazy, but it would be a cool vehicle, okay? But basically, this is it, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know in the comments what you think about these 3 or 4 suggestions. And I will leave in the description all of the other ones for you to check it out, okay? I see you guys on the next one. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and bye.